In the centuries following the fall of Rome, Western Europe had no single authority, no common law, and no emperor. The continent had fractured into rival kingdoms, Germanic tribes, competing warlords, and a church struggling to hold what remained of civilization together. Into this unstable world, one dynasty would rise to reshape everything: the Carolingians. Around 742 AD, a son was born to the Frankish king and his wife, Bertrada of Lyon. They named him Charles. He grew up inside the Carolingian court, trained in horsemanship, warfare, and the customs of Frankish kingship. Einhard, who would one day write his biography, recalled that Charles was physically striking, tall, broad-shouldered, and commanding even in youth. Little in his early years hinted at the scale of what was to come. The bond between the Frankish crown and the Roman Church had been forged a generation before Charles was born. In 754 AD, Pope Stephen II made an extraordinary journey, crossing the Alps in winter to seek Frankish protection against the encroaching Lombard kingdom. He anointed Pepin the Short as king of the Franks, a sacred act that created a relationship of mutual dependence between sword and cross. Charles grew up entirely within the shadow of this alliance. He would inherit it and transform it. When Pepin the Short died in 768 AD, he followed Frankish custom and divided his kingdom between his two surviving sons, Charles in the north, Charlemagne in the south. It was a tradition rooted in inheritance law. It was also a recipe for tension. Two kings, one realm, and courts that watched each other with barely concealed unease. For 3 years the Frankish kingdom held together, barely. Then, in 771 AD, Charlemagne died suddenly. He was not yet 30 years old. What followed was swift and deliberate. Charles moved immediately to claim sole rule over the entire Frankish kingdom, refusing any share of power to Carlomagne's young heirs. Their supporters fled south to the court of the Lombard king. The division was over. Charles was now king of all the Franks, and he was only beginning. Charles did not wait long to face his first major test. In Rome, Pope Hadrian I confronted a dangerous situation. The Lombard king Desiderius had sheltered Carlomagne's heirs as rival claimants to the Frankish throne and was now pressing southward, threatening the papal territories. In 772 AD, Hadrian sent urgent appeals northward. The old alliance was being called upon. What Charles chose to do next would determine the fate of Italy and the nature of his own ambitions. In 773 AD, Charles led his army through the Alpine passes and into northern Italy, a logistical undertaking few rulers had attempted since Rome's legions. He laid siege to the Lombard capital, Pavia. The city's walls held through spring and into summer. But by 774 AD, with supplies exhausted and no relief in sight, the Lombard king Desiderius surrendered. The kingdom that had dominated northern Italy for over 2 centuries ceased to exist. Charles had not simply won a campaign. He had reshaped the map of Europe. Charles did not merely conquer the Lombards, he absorbed them. He assumed the title King of the Lombards and confirmed the papacy's territorial rights over central Italy, expanding the grant his father had originally made. The Frankish papal alliance had now been tested and reaffirmed in the most concrete terms possible. But even as Charles consolidated Italy, another war, older, harder, and far more brutal, was already demanding his attention to the north. Saxony lay to the northeast of the Frankish heartland, a land of dense forests, pagan tradition, and fierce independence. The Saxons had resisted Frankish expansion for generations. Charles began his campaign in 72 AD, and his first act was deliberate and symbolic. His forces destroyed the Irminsul, a great sacred pillar the Saxons believed held up the world. It was not merely a military strike. It was an assault on the very foundation of Saxon identity. The war that followed would last 30 years. In 778 AD, Charles turned west. A Muslim governor in northern Spain had invited Frankish intervention against his rivals. Charles crossed the Pyrenees with a large army. The campaign stalled almost immediately. The city of Zaragoza refused to open its gates. Charles withdrew, his ambitions in Iberia unrealized, but the worst was still ahead. On the return march through a narrow Pyrenean pass, the army's rear guard, commanded by a noble named Roland, was ambushed from the heights above. Every man in the rear guard was killed. It was among the most painful defeats of Charles's entire reign, and one he could never avenge. In Saxony, the war was far from over. Around 782 AD, Charles issued what became known as the Capitulary on the Saxons, a decree that made refusal of baptism, practice of pagan rites, or resistance to Frankish authority punishable by death. It was a document born of frustration and strategic urgency. For the Saxons, it amounted to a declaration of cultural annihilation. Resistance did not weaken, it hardened. And at the center of that resistance stood one man. Widukind, chieftain of the Westphalian Saxons, had become the living symbol of Saxon defiance. In 782 AD, under his leadership, Saxon warriors ambushed and annihilated a Frankish army at the Suntel Hills, an unexpected and devastating blow. Charles's response was without mercy. Approximately 4,500 Saxon prisoners were executed in a single day at a place called Verdun. History has never fully reconciled this act with the emperor who ordered it. It stands as the darkest passage of his reign. The massacre at Verdun did not end the Saxon War. It deepened it. But gradually, year by year, relentless Frankish military pressure and the forced resettlement of Saxon populations ground down the resistance. Then in 785 AD, something unexpected happened. Widukind himself came to Charles's court and submitted to Christian baptism. Charles stood as his godfather. Whether this was genuine conversion, political calculation, or simple exhaustion, organized Saxon resistance effectively collapsed. The long war was, at last, turning. Even as the Saxon Wars ground on, Charles was simultaneously reshaping the interior of his kingdom. In 789 AD, he issued the Admonitio Generalis, a sweeping series of capitularies that standardized law across his territories, reformed church practice, and set expectations for education, weights and measures, and coinage. It was an act of governance as ambitious as any military campaign. For the first time in generations, a single legal and administrative framework was being imposed across much of Western Europe. At his palace complex at Aachen, Charles assembled the finest minds of the age. Chief among them was Alcuin of York, a scholar from Northumbria, who became the intellectual architect of what historians would later call the Carolingian Renaissance. Under Charles's patronage, monasteries became centers of learning, manuscripts were copied and preserved, and Latin was standardized across the empire. Charles himself studied alongside Alcuin, though his biographer recorded, with some affection, that he never fully mastered the art of writing. Between 791 and 803 A.D., Charles turned his military forces east against the Avars, a powerful nomadic confederacy that had long dominated the Pannonian Plain and threatened his eastern borders. The campaigns were relentless. When the Avar ring fortress, their great circular stronghold, finally fell, the treasure found inside reportedly required 4 ox carts to carry away. It was one of the largest concentrations of wealth in early medieval Europe. The Avars as a political force never recovered. Running alongside the wars was an equally important innovation in governance. Charles created the missi dominici, pairs of royal envoys, typically 1 layman and 1 clergyman, dispatched throughout the empire on regular circuits. They audited local counts, investigated abuses, enforced imperial law, and reported directly to Charles. In an age without written communication networks or standing bureaucracies, it was a remarkable attempt to maintain central authority over a kingdom too vast for any ruler to personally oversee. In 799 A.D., events in Rome created a crisis that Charles could not ignore. Pope Leo III was attacked in the streets by a faction of Roman nobles, men who accused him of serious moral failings and reportedly mutilated both his eyes and his tongue. Leo managed to escape. He made his way north to Charles's court at Paderborn, bearing injuries and a desperate appeal for protection. His arrival forced Charles into the center of Roman politics at a moment that would soon lead somewhere neither man may have fully intended. In late 800 A.D., Charles traveled to Rome with a substantial military escort. He presided over a formal synod that examined and formally cleared the Pope of all accusations, a judgment that restored papal authority and neutralized his enemies. It was a calculated exercise of power, as much political as spiritual. Charles had arrived not merely as a protector, but as the supreme arbiter of Christian order in the West. What came next, just days later, would alter the course of Western civilization. On Christmas Day, 800 A.D., in the Basilica of St. Peter in Rome, Pope Leo III placed an imperial crown upon the head of the Frankish king and proclaimed him emperor of the Romans. The assembled congregation responded with 3 acclamations. According to his biographer, Charles later claimed he had not known the coronation was planned, though historians have long debated this. Intended or not, the act was irreversible. A Western Roman emperor existed for the first time in more than 3 centuries. The coronation sent immediate shockwaves to Constantinople. In the Eastern Roman Empire, the only surviving inheritor of the original Roman title, Charles's claim was seen as presumption at best and an act of outright usurpation at worst. Ironically, the East was at that moment ruled by a woman, an empress who had seized power by deposing her own son. Diplomatic negotiations followed, and some sources suggest a marriage proposal was extended. It came to nothing. 2 heirs to Rome now existed. They would never truly reconcile. By 813 A.D., Charles was aging and visibly weakened. Several of his sons had predeceased him, and the question of succession had grown urgent. He summoned his remaining son, Louis, to Aachen. In a ceremony arranged with deliberate precision, Charles himself placed the imperial crown upon Louis's head without the presence of any pope, without any representative of Rome. The message was unmistakable. Imperial authority flowed from the emperor, not from the church. It was among the last great acts of his reign. On the 28th of January, 814 AD, Charles died at his palace in Aachen. He was somewhere in his early 70s, an extraordinary age for any man of his era. His biographer recorded that he had suffered from fever and pleurisy in his final weeks, and that he had refused, as was his lifelong habit, to follow the advice of his physicians. He was buried that same day in the cathedral he had built. An empire that had taken 46 years of relentless will to construct passed into other hands. The empire Charles had built did not survive intact for long. His grandsons fought bitterly over the inheritance, and in 843 AD, the Treaty of Verdun divided the Carolingian realm into 3 distinct parts. One portion would become the kernel of what is now France, another the foundation of Germany, a third the long-contested middle lands of Burgundy and the Low Countries. The borders drawn at Verdun echoed through European history for centuries to come. In fracturing, the empire revealed the shape of modern Europe. Charlemagne's legacy defies easy summary. He was a conqueror of extraordinary ambition and at times of extraordinary brutality. He was also a legislator, a patron of learning, and a builder of institutions that outlasted his empire by centuries. The concept of a unified Christian West, the framework of church-state interdependence, the administrative models of medieval governance, all trace in some measure back to his reign. Europe as a coherent political and cultural idea owes something to the man his contemporaries called the Father of Europe. More than 12 centuries after his death, he remains one of the most consequential figures the medieval world ever produced. And that's it. Thank you for watching. The next story is waiting for you right here. Subscribe so you're always the first to know. Thanks for being part of this story. See you in the next one.